Hi everyone, and welcome back to Liz Sews, in the next installment in my Make It Your Own series, where I show you how to take an already well-fitting bra pattern and change up the style line so you get something that looks completely different. In today's tutorial, we'll be going over how to convert a two-piece cup from a horizontal seam to a vertical seam. Using a vertical seam is particularly useful if you have lace or something with a very large, long motif along the upper edge. That way you can have it uninterrupted as you move across the bra. I've used a vertical seam cup to make this bra over here as well as this bra. You can see in these examples how it allows the motif on the top of the cup to remain uninterrupted from the top to the bottom of the cup. So it can be very useful if you're looking for a certain aesthetic. If you don't want to learn how to make a vertical seam bra pattern yourself, I would highly recommend the Devonshire bra pattern from Orange Lingerie, which I've also linked in the description box below. Today's tutorial will only be going over the pattern alterations to make a vertical seam cup, and does not include information on bra construction itself. Please look at some of my past tutorials on my channel if you're interested in learning more about bra construction. For this tutorial, you will need your cup pattern pieces, tape, paper, scissors, a marking utensil, and a straight and curved edged ruler. Let's get started. So to start out today, we're going to just need the cup pieces themselves. We don't need any of the frame or stuff like that because the alterations are solely made to the cup. We're going to start very similarly to the diagonal seam adjustment by connecting the corner point here to the apex of your cup in a straight line. Generally, the apex is marked by a notch point, but if not, you can just sort of look at your pattern pieces and figure out where you have the most volume added, and that's generally the apex of the cup. So as I had mentioned, a straight line from the inner corner of the seam allowance here to the apex of the cup, and we're going to repeat that on 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Once we have our straight lines marked, we can go ahead and cut them off of both the lower and upper cut piece. We can go ahead and set these aside for now. The next thing we want to do is draw our vertical seam. We always want to make sure that our seam is running through the apex point. So remember that notch or point here as well as up here. But where it lands on the wire line itself is completely up to you. Because I'm doing a vertical seam, I want it to run from the apex point probably to about this notch down here, which lies directly below my apex when worn. If you don't have a notch point, you can just sort of artistically choose where you want that vertical seam to go. So I'm going to draw a straight line there. And I'm going to do the same thing for my upper cup piece here. Just eyeball where it is you want that seam to land and make sure that it attaches to your apex point of your upper cup piece as well. Once those two lines are put into place, we're going to cut those apart and then we'll have 4 different pattern pieces. Now you should have something that looks like this. In order to convert it into a vertical seam cup, all we need to do is combine these 2 pieces and these 2 pieces. And because we've already cut them to be a straight line, they should butt up really evenly. So I'll just align the 2 straight edges over here and tape it into place, making sure that they meet perfectly at the apex point of the bust. It's okay if the line on this side does not form a complete straight line. That's something that you can true up and fix later. So I'm going to do that on the outer cup as well as the inner cup piece. Again, making sure my apex points meet. And I'm okay that I have this little jog here over at the side. So now we have the skeleton of our outer and inner cup. We can go ahead and add our seam allowances back in. I'm going to go and use the pattern pieces that we cut off earlier from the upper and lower cup. So this one was the upper cup pattern piece. I'm going to split it into 2 right at that apex point. And then I'm going to connect apex to apex over here and tape it into place. Obviously, I have a huge overhang and that's completely fine. And again, on this side, I want to connect the apex to the apex. And tape it into place. We'll also do the same for the lower cup. I'm going to cut this at that apex point into 2 separate pieces. And then just align apex to apex on this side and apex to apex on this side. Now we can go ahead and cut off all of our extra pieces. Now you'll notice that these are mostly seam allowance and not actually any volume of the cup. And that's perfectly fine because we're just going to throw this away and pretend like these never existed. I'm going to do the same thing over here. The last thing I'm going to do in making my vertical seam cup is sort of just clean up all of these edges. I use medical exam tracing paper or medical exam paper. I find it's really inexpensive, and I think I got 12 rolls from the Amazon for about $30, and I've been using it for years and years and years, and I'm not even close to running out. I always find it's just a little bit easier for me to retrace than try to clean up on the actual pattern piece itself. I'd rather have a clean pattern piece that I'm working with. So when it comes to this side, you can see I have a little jog here where this one sticks out further than this one down here. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to take away a little bit from this upper portion here and add a little bit extra to the lower portion here. This does take a little bit of artistic license because you're looking for a nice, smooth, even curve. There's no like a right way or wrong way to do it. You can see I've taken away a little bit up here and added a little bit down here to get that nice, smooth curve. And just like we did on this outer edge, I'm going to form as nice of a curve as I can. It's probably going to meet here. And again, this is going to be our apex point. So go ahead and place a notch into your pattern there because it will help you line it up when you're sewing down the road. So I'm just going to mess around with this ruler until I get something, get a curve that looks nice to me. That. And like that, and I don't want to point right there, so I am going to just sort of curve that out with my ruler. So this is going to be my outer cup piece. I want to sort of maintain my dogs of the original pattern piece, which is running parallel to the neckline over here. So I do want to make sure that I draw in my degree of greatest stretch again, running parallel to the neckline. Mark that D-O-G-S, and this is my inner cup vertical seam. Especially on something like this, the Black Beauty, I have so many pattern modifications of the same pattern. I always like to make sure and write what pattern modification it is on my new pattern piece so that I don't get them confused down the road. So I'm just going to do that same procedure with my inner cup piece here. Might just fast forward it because you guys don't need to see that in extreme detail. Now I have my outer and inner piece complete, and I can go ahead and cut these out of fabric and sew it up into my vertical seam bra. You can use the original band that you had with this pattern without making any further alterations to it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial and come back next week as we learn more ways to make a pattern your own. Take care.